change, and all that comes with it as we move stateside for the second half of the season, starting itself up. A very tumultuous evening we had a week ago at the Circuit de Catalunya, Barcelona, and so much has changed. A landscape that has been completely driven wide open, leaving a massive gulf in space, and all of this happiness for those who languish very close to the top of the championship. It is Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course here in Lexington as we get ourselves ready for action as qualifying finds itself currently underway here with Forever Sim Racing. It's Jake Sperry here along with Caitlin Penny and Marco Barbanera on the cameras provided by Dougie Beard. The first time starters to come in, but Caitlin, a big week in terms of changes that have been going on in the landscape of BSR TCR. But this is a new race, it's a new 3 rounds of the championship, and it means that anything still is very much possible.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Jake. Although it is very sad to Team RSO pulling out of the league. Of course, Nebelshak was leading it for Team RSO, and this of course now leaves the door wide open for the XV Racer drivers of Foggy, of Brandon, of Brown, of possibly other drivers as well, to get involved and to pick up the points that they leave vacant. But yeah, big shame. Still doesn't mean that we're going to get a foregone conclusion today though. Because we have so many competitive drivers and teams, as we've seen all the way through this series. Of course, another driver I didn't mention there is Johnny Brandon, who I believe picked up a small penalty after the last race, but still sits in 4th position in the order. And I'm looking especially at Ashley Beard as well. I feel that he has a strong result coming, especially since he is currently at the top of the qualifying time by quite a way. So a few names to look out for, but yeah, big shame that we don't see RSO here today.
Yeah, it is a shame, but it is one which does have massive ramifications, as we just thank those who get it done for us first and foremost before we move any further. Firstly, a big thanks to our graphic sponsors, Forcex Design, who are absolutely instrumental in terms of the work that they do for us, as well as the music that you've heard over the course of this broadcast. That one, of course, being produced by Violet. Make sure you check out her stuff on Bandcamp and also on Spotify as well. But more importantly than that, let's talk about championship pictures here at the moment, because it is quite interesting how things stand. Nebelshak did have the championship lead coming into this round by 29 points over Nicole Foggy. Robin Harsot was going to be in 3rd position. They're going to keep their championship points, which leaves an interesting scenario here with Johnny Brandon 4th. Ashley Beard finds himself in 5th. Dan Brown 6th, Niels Carstensen 7th, Kip Stevens 8th, and Chris Daines, who missed last round at the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya, he now finds himself in 9th. The top 9 make their way to the showdown in a very much a NASCAR-style chase format. The first 9 weeks, put yourself in with an opportunity to be inside that top 9. Your points get raised up from there, plus your showdown points on the right-hand side, which Nicole Foggy holds control over at the moment. And that is the advantage everyone is trying to get in. Caitlin, this is a crucial point of the championship, because both Nebelshak and Haase have effectively locked their places into the showdown along with Nicole Foggy. The big issue is those drivers like Niels Carstensen, who won't be showing up for the rest of the season, drivers like Hedgecock, who's not here, McNally, who is, Lee Diemer, Julian Janowski. They are going to want to capitalize today and pick up some big points between now and the end of the season. They're fighting for 9th.
Yeah, of course. I do hope the RSO drivers who have locked out the chase, I suppose, the showdown championship standings, turn up and contest for it. It would be a big shame if Nebelshak in particular didn't, since he's been leading the championship for so long. Although, yeah, this is the crucial point in the championship. This is the last chance saloon of the drivers around about that 8th, 9th, 10th, down to maybe 13th, 14th position, or even further, as we've seen how close these races can be. And it's between those drivers to pick up as many points as they possibly can now. And it's all going to be about capitalization, in my opinion. It's all going to be about seeing the drama happening in front of you, Uh,
Absolutely, it will
what's
be
the
all
word?
about that.
Anticipating. That's the word.
Yes.
Sorry, anticipating it, knowing where to go, and knowing how to gain advantage from it. Sorry for the slight pause there. I'm kind of tired, but yeah, that's what it's all going to be about today. As Johnny Brandon now goes to the top of the times.
He certainly does, and hopefully the excitement of this broadcast will make sure that tiredness will not become a key factor. Dragon
Sure.
Internet Teams Championship right now, and XV Racer hold the lead and now all but secure that championship up. They did have a 13-point margin over Team RSO, who did close the gap down, but now XV Racer completely ahead of Excite Energy now, with Momo currently scored in third and the chasing pack down. Boosted in fifth position at the moment. BritTech Simsport in sixth right now. So those are your top teams at the moment, and it's been very interesting to see how that team's championship has developed. Boosted Motorsport, I think, have been the big key over this one. They have been right up there, showing exactly what they are capable of again and again and again. But Boosted at the moment today only have one driver for them, so they're really going to be struggling in terms of their team output here today.
Yeah, Boosted currently fifth in the teams championship, and of course the driver that they are. The driver that they were very much resting their hopes on before was Adam Hedgecock. Shame to not see him here as well. It's, well, we seem to have quite a few big names missing, although, of course, still a very decent grid size. We have, I think, 27 cars here, which is not bad at all. Not quite as many as we had earlier in this series, but I've seen fantastic touring car races taking place with 8 cars, sometimes fewer before, so 23 is more than enough. Although, yeah, for Boosted, it's still not completely over for them. They do still have they are still represented on this field, and I'm sure they'll continue to fight with BritTech and an obstacle right to the end of the series.
They certainly should do. And in the amateur category standing, Sean Gardner, championship leader, not here. A chance for Optical to take advantage. Charles Kellyman, who lost his championship lead by 15 points, now has the chance to gain it back. Andy Maxwell, 45 points off the lead at the moment. Carl Hardy, keep an eye out on him as well. He got the moniker early on in the season, Wrecking Ball Carl, after a few misdemeanors, but he's very much cleaned up through the mid parts and leads the result clothing charge. Just 49 points off of where he needs to be. Keep an eye on Scott Malcolm as well. Haven't talked much about him. Missed the opening couple of rounds of the season and has brought his result clothing team right back into contention. Keep an eye on Scott Malcolm. He definitely, the Scotsman, has a good turn of pace.
Well, we're talking about that. Steve Lavallee has got up into second position. He's a name that I don't recognise, so I think he's new to this series.
He is.
And pokes his car up into second position already. Talking of valleys, I've just seen on the track map that there is a wonderfully named section of circuit between turns 9 and 10, Thunder Valley. You don't get much better than that for race circuits, and to be honest, it would be ironic if Steve Lavallee was making up time through there. But anyway, very, very quick so far, but a 3/10 of a second advantage Johnny Brandon has at this point in time. He definitely appears to be the driver with the pace here.
Certainly does, and he got that in the draft of guess who once again. Nicole Foggy, championship leader, will be coming out of this event unless something dramatically goes wrong here this afternoon, this evening, this morning, wherever you are around the world. Nicole Foggy currently in fourth. Your top 10 as things stands: Johnny Brandon in control, Steve Lavallee in second position, both for the XV Racer boys. Chris Dane starts this one at the moment in third, with Nicole Foggy fourth. Ashley Beard is fifth, Steve Baxter in sixth, Dan Brown in seventh. Then it's Lee Deemer, Carl Jackalette, and Craig Harris as Nicole Foggy decides, I've had enough of waiting. 1:28.376 to the top of the standings, and it is XV Racer 1-2-3 lockout at the moment.
So it is, yeah, and Foggy there taking provisional pole by over 1/10 of a second as well. So I thought that Brandon had a gigantic advantage, and he did, but it's been completely eaten away. And that means that the next non-XV racer car, Chris Danes in fourth place, is half a second behind the pole sitter at this point in time. Just shows that XV racer have very clearly got their setup very much hooked up today, very much how they like it, and they are going to take some beating. Look at that time.
It's a fantastic time. It absolutely is. A 128.3. Brandon on a 28.4. A 28.7 for Steve Lavallee. He'll be very happy with that as the halfway stage comes into play in qualifying. 4 drivers have not set lap times in qualifying and are expected to not set lap times. That is Ethan Bass. We do correct the names here at Forever Sim Racing. Ethan Bass, Julian Janowski, Adam McNally, and Andy Maxwell all getting involved in incidents at Barcelona. All will not take to the starting of qualifying for this one. So they will have to try and make all their work happen towards the rear of the field. Keep an eye out, though, a little lower down the order. We'll focus quite a bit in this racing on Charles Kellyman, the number 67. He will look to take amateur category lead as he finds himself in 19th as Kip Stevens jumps up inside the top 10 for the first time for the Momo team. And Kip Stevens has done something absolutely incredible this season. He has yet to get a podium, but still finds himself, Caitlin, in the showdown position.
Yeah, Kip Stevens has done a fantastic job. It's very difficult indeed, to remain consistent in a league with things like reverse grids and with the contact and close racing that we've seen so far this season. To be honest, that's quite amazing that he's done that. But it just shows you the importance of keeping clean, keeping out of trouble. He is 319 points behind Nebelshek, the championship leader, as it stands. But that doesn't matter because with Team RSO's removal, he is well and truly in the showdown. He looks fairly safe at this point in time, not trying to curse him or anything. And so long as he just keeps plugging away at the circuit and at the results, then that looks pretty safe for him. So great job.
Great job at the moment for Kip Stevens, and he knows what good a job that he needs to do. You look at other drivers maybe a little bit further down in the standings looking to try and make some pushes up through the field. Adam McNally's got the long road to daily. Dima, we haven't really talked too much about. He's up in 8th position at the moment, and here's a driver who maybe was on the fringes top 20. He has improved over the course of this season, and 8th place, just a second there or thereabouts off at the moment in qualifying. You can be happy for Excite Energy that they've still got some very strong lineups to come in. No Brian Holmes, of course, but they still have a very strong team that has been proving itself at the moment and has done very well as Charles Kellyman just crosses the line and moves up into 18th place. He does have some rivals to worry about, though, most notably being Scott Malcolm, who's up in 15th at this point in time in qualifying. He crosses the line, does a 130.1, no improvements, but at the moment, it seems that it's a very big amateur category battle at the moment, as well as right at the top.
The amateur category, of course, for the drivers who haven't quite demonstrated the same type of speed as the higher class. We don't have Pro-Am, as in, for example, the pro class drivers aren't actually professionals. They're not paid for this. However, they are split into separate classes at the start of the season, and they can be moved around those classes at the series organizers' will. And currently Sean Gardner is leading that, but he's not here today, of course. So for Kellyman, this is a good chance for him to score some much needed points, especially since his main rival Maxwell is not going to set a qualifying time. So that is going to take some points out of him as well. Looking good for Kellyman at this point in time, currently P18, not too far back in terms of lap time to the cars in front of him. He's relatively close to John Roberts and Michael Bingham. About to complete another lap. We'll see exactly what time he's about to set here. It is no improvement for Charles Kellyman. He stays 18th as it stands.
He does stay 18th, but he does have a bit more time to get that one working. 11.5 minutes left up on the clock, and everybody trying to get on the 5-car XV Racer train as they all look to try and use the draft to their advantage. In fact, you could say it's 6 even, with Rich Warmingham making his debut for the season so far. Amateur category champion in Euro V8 over with our good friends at Apex Racing TV, but Rich Warmingham currently scored in 13th, 1:29.6. He's just 200ths behind Craig Harris at the moment, who actually fronts the train which Nico Foggy's trying to get onto here, which also houses Daniel James in the 94, currently back down in 20th position. So we'll see how this plays out. Craig Harris currently in 12th, looking to try and find improvements. But I think all of these drivers are thinking about, okay, manageable goals in these next sections. Track conditions are 28 degrees and partly cloudy. They're hoping that in these next 10 minutes, there is at least one chance that cloud cover comes over the track, cools it down, giving a little bit more time in that track for everyone.
And as you say, it is now the last 10 minutes of the qualifying session, as Neras makes pretty much no difference. So this is the point where we're about to see the time start to tumble. I'm expecting some cars to get in and amongst those XV races at the front of the field. Not that everyone's been taking it easy so far. It is important to push on your banker laps, just to make sure that if something happens and you're not able to set another qualifying time, you still have something to go on, so you don't have to start right from the back. Although I just feel that XV Racer are not quite as safe as they look just yet, especially Steve Lavallee in third position. He's less than a tenth of a second in terms of his lap time ahead of Chris Danes at this point in time, and Danes will see that. He'll have his target locked effectively, and he will be absolutely gunning for it. I can see that he's not pushing on this lap, although he will be, actually I think he may be pushing on this lap. If not, he's going to be setting up for another one. And there are other drivers as well. I think Ashley Beard is probably, I'd be surprised, okay, I know this is a bold statement, I'd be surprised if Ashley Beard doesn't come away from this this day without a victory. And I've probably cursed him now, although Ashley Beard is one who I've been looking at for a while, and I'm expecting a couple of strong results to really start showing from him. But whatever the case, for now it remains XV Racer 123 for the time being.
Ashley Beard is currently 5th at the moment in qualifying, 128.8. No help from teammates, which Chris Danes, I don't think, did either in the 900. So for Ashley Beard, he knows he only needs to find about 600ths of a second to find that improvement. He is half a second currently off of pole position at the moment. So time needs to be found, and needs to be found pretty quickly as drivers look to get those tyres up to temperature. And a 128.9 that last time by for Ashley Beard is close, but I think he's now starting to hit that limit in terms of his qualifying times that he's been looking to try and do. He's had an outlap, he's been doing one lap as he pushes wide a little bit there through the keyhole at turn 2, and that's always going to be an issue there, trying to get that vehicle slowed up. It's a prime overtaking opportunity, as is the China Beach S's at turns 4, 5, and 6 out on track, and then into 7, 8, the second part of the S's before heading to turn 9 and Thunder Valley. Ashley Beard needs more time, but ultimately, the good news is he has laps at his disposal. He has that time, and of course, his rivals are all checking up amongst each other as they head towards turn 2, turn 3, and that is the likes of Brandon Lavallee, Baxter, Brown and co, who are all there trying to get as many points as possible, as much heat into the tyres for that one big banzai run. And look at Kip Stevens on the back. He's trying to sneak some sneaky draft.
So Ashley Beard now down at Thunder Valley. Seems to be pushing for it. I'm not sure if he's improving or not. I'm sure we will see that towards the end of the lap. Couple of drivers getting some draft at this point in time. They're probably the ones to watch. Although also you have to make sure that that draft doesn't become traffic, doesn't start holding you up too badly. Beard just completing his lap. Don't believe there was any improvement there from him. So that's that for now. As for other drivers contending, I don't think Baxter's on a quick lap, and if he was, he's not now because he's just found a lot of traffic there coming towards the end of the lap. And I think you've probably got your eye on someone, Jake.
I haven't my eyes on so many people as Chris Danes looks to try and put his lap times in as well, as I think a few drivers on pit road are trying to keep themselves in mind, as Peter Van Gool is not out on track, nor is Jim Flanagan, nor is Chris Danes at this point in time. So Danes still waiting. He's got 6 minutes to make sure to get this lap going. It is a shorter lap around here. 128 we are seeing, so we're going to get a lot of time in terms of how this works. But the likes of Kip Stevens, for example, there in 10th position, is in the prime place to gain some advantage from the draft. Dan James trying to stay on the rear of this as well. And this is a track which does have that one big drafting zone, which I think so many people are going to try and work in favor. And we are seeing this as, once again, Nicole Foggy drafts Johnny Brandon and goes forward. And this is what we are seeing here. Drivers trying to find that time, trying to work and make sure that it plays out in favor. And everyone wanting to be on the back of, get this, 6 XV Racer cars.
Yeah, they do have Steve Lavallee right behind them as well. Or he's the third car in the chain, so very much an XV racer train at this point in time, and that is to gain advantage from the draft effects down the straight. Of course, these cars aren't too aero dependent, so you don't really tend to get that badly affected by running behind someone through corners. It's not ideal, of course, because you don't get as much visibility as you would otherwise do, and there is a slight aero disadvantage, but on the straights you are going to be gaining a lot of time, since you have effectively a wind block, a big shield in front of you. And at the end of that lap there, I think, well, I haven't seen any improvements, so I was expecting at least one big, cone goes flying there at the back of Johnny Brandon's car. Although, just to show how much of an advantage Nicole Foggy has at this point in time, only the top 8 cars are separated by a second at this point in time, and that's shocking, since these TCRs, these are some of the closest race cars in the world, especially when you have a big close grid like this. So the fact that there's only 8 cars within the top second of qualifying, it's quite something, really.
It certainly is. Michael Bingham will make his push to the line. 129.888 at the moment. He's 1.5 seconds off of pole position, but that just tells you how strong that the mid-pack of this field is. The fact that 10th down to 17th are split by just 0.3 of a second at the moment. It can change on a dime. Scott Malcolm is one of them on a 29.5. The amateur driver is up in 11th position now and is absolutely storming in terms of his amateur push. We'll see how that one plays out for him the longer that this one goes. Part of the Team Mad category for him at the moment. So we'll see how this one plays on as drivers look to make their push to the line. The likes of Foggy, likes of Brandon, and Nicole Foggy doesn't set a lap time that time, but Johnny Brandon does go fastest. 128.335. He's marginally quicker, and he got the lap that he wanted out of it. An off track for Nicole Foggy could have put him on pole position and made it a lot easier. Johnny Brandon once again showing that the draft is his favourite.
Top 8 within a second, make that top 7. Goodness me, Johnny Brandon absolutely flying there. 128.335. Just wonderful. It's less than half a tenth of a second ahead of Nicole Foggy, but that doesn't matter, because it doesn't matter how much you take pole by. If you set a faster lap than someone, you are ahead. Now Nicole Foggy will be saying, hey, isn't it my turn with that slipstream? And I'm expecting to see him chasing down Johnny Brandon or Steve Lavallee or both of them, at least towards the end of the session, and having another attempt himself at setting the fastest lap, especially since Johnny Brandon doesn't need it at this point in time, since he's already on provisional pole position. And in the true spirit of teamwork, I'm expecting to swap positions very shortly, although they seem to be going for another lap in the same order here. Brandon currently top of the times as we're into the final 2.5 minutes of the session now, followed by Foggy, Lavallee, Danes and Beard, the top 5. Now, just as I say, they swap positions. Foggy goes to second. He's setting up for a flyer.
He certainly is, and he made sure that Johnny Brandon got in, and that's the teamwork which has got them top of the team's championship, and looking like they're not going to stay. Out of track comes Peter Van Gool. He's going for one last flyer as well when he gets around his outlap, but always very difficult on tyres that do take a while. Version 7 tyre model to get up to temperature. Look how close Foggy is on the brakes. He has to take the wide line through turn 2 of the keyhole. This is where you can start sabotaging your teammate's lap, and it's tougher for Nicole Foggy in this situation. He's been out there putting lap after lap here in qualifying. This is his 19th run around the track. That just tells you how many laps they're trying to put in this 30-minute session. Once the timer expires, they have until the end of their lap to put the qualifying laps together, and everything becomes so vital out there on track. The likes of Ashley Beard will be looking to find improvements out there to gain that bit of time and he is the only other driver out there who's close. You've got Baxter and Brown in the train as well. Lee Dima will not go any quicker in 8th, nor will Carl Jacquelet for year 1 in 9th. It is Caitlin, all about what can Nicole Foggy do. As off goes Brown, he will not find any more improvements in this session.
Yeah, Brown off. Also, Baxter and Lavallee are far too close. They're not just using the draft from each other. They're actually scrapping for position. Baxter tried to go around the outside of him earlier in the lap, so that's going to be holding Baxter up and probably distracting Lavallee at this point in time as well. I'm more interested in Foggy this lap as he comes to across the start line. He definitely appears closer to Brandon, but by how much? Across the line, no improvement. So that's that for now. I did see an improvement further back in the times. Wasn't quite sure who it was. It may have been. Did Carl Jacquelet just jump up into 10th position?
It was Lee. It was Kip. Kip up
Stevens
into 8th.
up to 8th. Yeah.
Kip Stevens then jumps Lee Dima, jumps Carl Jacquelet, gives himself a bit of help then in terms of the racing. Checkered flag comes out then to end the qualifying session. First across the line will be Michael Bingham here in 17th place, 129.888. We've seen him not get himself past John Roberts, the only Boosted Motorsports machine in this field, rounds himself through the big carousel and will take a dive onto pit road. He will not find any improvements. Ashley Beard, though, currently 5th, needs to find himself 300s to move past Chris Danes, who's on a 28.8. Here comes Ashley Beard for Excite Energy, 29.2. Does not get the improvement that he so desired. Charles Kellyman, though, amateur category, 2nd place at the moment, looking to try and take that amateur category lead coming out of here, and he dives down to pit road, and he will not find improvements. Nicole Foggy had to relinquish the draft early and rely on pure pace because he was so good out of turn 1 and up towards turn 2. Johnny Brandon said, I can't find improvements either, but we'll keep an eye on Scotsman Foggy round the final corner, making the charge to the line. 128.382. He was 6,000 short of his own time. He does not find the improvement. Steve Baxter does, though, on a 28.902. Keeps himself, though, in 6th position. Dan James, 130.151, keeps him in 21st position. Overall, the last driver out on track is Martin Sampson in 15th position for the Automech team. He will make his way through the final corner there, that kink of turn 13. Cross the line he will go. 130.5 is not an improvement. Everyone is finished up. This is how the grid will stack. So it will be a 1-2-3 then for XV Racers. Johnny Brandon gets pole position ahead of Nicole Foggy. Steve Lavallee on his debut race in debut qualifying starts this one from 3rd. Chris Danes will go from 4th alongside as the best of the rest in the Brittech Sim Sport team, with Ashley Beard making it 5th place for Excite Energy. Steve Baxter and Dan Brown, 6th and 7th. They will start as XV Racer vehicles, and they will look to try and do the best they can. Kip Stevens, ever the consistent, in 8th place. Lee Dima is in 9th, and Carl Jacquelet, a great qualifying for year 1. He starts this one from 10th.
11th place went to Peter Van Gool, followed by Craig... Sorry, no it didn't. It went to Scott Malcolm, followed by Peter Van Gool. Then Craig Harris and a new driver, Rich Warmingham. Martin Sampson was P15, followed by John Roberts, Michael Bingham, Charles Kellyman, Carl Handy, and Steve Cooley with a cool lap in P20.
Daniel James will start 21st, Dean Timms in 22nd, Jim Flanagan starts 23rd, and then because of iRating made by the iRacing system, Adam McNally will start this one 24th, Janowski from 25th, Ethan Bass in 26th, and Andy Maxwell 27th. And it's difficult for those towards the back of the field. They're lining up past the kink, and on this standing start, they will be around the carousel ever so slightly as well, and they'll be hoping for a cue that the lights are off and they are able to go racing. A relatively short run to the start-finish line, a relatively short run here to turn number 1. There's a reason why there is a starter's marker at turn number 3, because that's the marker they use in the IndyCar series, which does come around from here from time to time. But for Nicole Foggy, this is all about trying to consolidate a position, get as many showdown points as possible to put himself in the best possible place in the race for the chase. Johnny Brandon has seen his rivals find themselves nowhere anymore. He will look to consolidate 2nd position overall. Steve Lavallee looking to make a good impact to go. But what about Chris Danes holding himself in 9th place? He's got to keep himself secure. Ashley Beard has been fantastic this season. You've got the likes of Kip Stevens, who has been up there, but you still got Lee Deemer, Carl Jackalette, Scott Malcolm for the amateur category championship. They are all going to make their pushes. They have themselves enough time to get the lights on and the lights out, and let's get themselves going. It's a slow start for Baxter on the 4th row, and he will start dropping back 3 wide in the middle as well, as one of the Brits Simsport cars makes its way past Peter Van Gool. That's Craig Harris down the inside at turn 1. They fight themselves for 3rd position, though, as Chris Danes immediately to try and beat the train goes offensive. Foggy looking to go on the outside, 2 wide, 2 deep, Noah's Ark into the keyhole, and just like that, Johnny Brandon holds it, but Danes gets the run that he wants, but not on the exit here. They will fight and almost lose the draft immediately as they make their way to China Beach for the first time. And just like this, Chris Danes has got to get some help, and Ashley Beard will have to be that help behind him, almost trying to push him.
Very clean, very nice. I may be speaking too soon, but everyone is through the first couple of corners cleanly. Up in front, Nicole Foggy still challenging there. That's getting closer through China Beach, and it is a corner where you can have an attack if you stick around the outside and keep on the inside. As Chris Danes is, well, he's on the outside here, holding on, and that looks, contact, and who's that going sideways? It's Ashley Beard, who just about keeps it in a straight line and actually doesn't lose a position, I think.
He's done well not to lose a position, I do believe, so he's got himself away with that ever so slightly. In fact, he has lost positions. He's lost 2 of them. One of them is to Steve Baxter, the other is to Dan Brown, and that's not going to be helpful at all as they start making their pushes, but it is a 2-car breakaway at the front of the field. The rear enforcer, Steve Lavallee, has got Chris Danes and more in terms of help trying to get through. Get this, in terms of this field, 5 of the top 6 after the opening lap are XV Racer. That's how strong of a team they are at the moment, although only the top 3 for them will score in terms of teams points overall. Carl Jackalette under pressure here is Lee Deemer. Oh my word, over the curbs, up and over at the intersection there was Brown. He's got away with it there as he continues moving forward, and Jackalette's far too deep down in. He gives contact to Kip Stevens. Kip will remember that as they go through and will not make life easy for Jackalette to get through, as now he has to deal with everyone trying to stream on by. He's going to get freight trained.
Knocked all of the cones down. That's a proper strike there for Daniel Brown. Now we've got Danes going to the outside of Lavallee towards Lavallee, and also Foggy is... Oh, he's off! Foggy's off on the grass! He tried to go for the lead, just misjudged it. He's rejoining the track almost into the side of some of his teammates. Gets away with it, but he's going to lose a lot of places. He's down to P5, P4, I believe, as it stands. So it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. Almost dropped to P5 in that, but just about got away with it. Although that could have been so much worse. He was sliding sideways and wasn't really in much control as he was rejoining the track, sorry.
Look at Chris Danes. He's gone side by side up Thunder Valley. It's difficult at the off-camber turn 11. He's trying to get up and under, and he knows Nicole Foggy's not too far behind. Lavallee goes uber defensive then through the carousel, and Johnny Brandon runs wide as well now through that section, and that closes up the field a bit more. So a mistake, a sideways slide for Johnny Brandon, too complacent at the front of the field. He finds himself, though, still at the front. Chris Danes looks like he's up for it, but he makes a mistake through turn 1, 2 bites of the cherry through the corner, and here comes Nicole Foggy, and a slowdown for Lavallee, and that's going to hurt him big time as he tries to get the pace back. On the brakes they go into the keyhole of turn 2. Foggy looking to regain second. He's not having it. Baxter under pressure from teammate Brown behind, and now Chris Danes up into second position, but Foggy's got the up and under.
Yeah, this is the worst time of the race to get a slowdown like Lavallee just did. You end up slowing, getting passed by the entire field, like you're glued to the spots. Now we've got Foggy side by side with Danes down towards China Valley. Danes knows that he's there. This is where Foggy went off a lap ago. Much cleaner this time around. Foggy with the traction around the outside. Fantastic run. And as they head out towards Thunder Valley, Foggy's going to have P3.
I think you just have to put your hands up there if you're Chris Danes and say, I can't do any better than that, as they head themselves now into Thunder Valley, coming out of China Beach, and now making that push further forward into this race. 15 minutes in this opening race, 2 reverse grids, the final race of the night, a 30-minute feature as they look to try and make some pushes. A little further down in the order, keep an eye out on progress through this field. Some drivers haven't had the progress that they have wanted. McNally is one who has, though. He's up already past Craig Harris into 12th place and trying to chase down Carl Jacquelet a little bit further forward. Here's Steve Lavallee, though, trying to get past Kip Stevens, and on the brakes they go into turn 1. I think Kip's going to realise, I'm on the outside, I don't really want to fight, I want to just score consistent points, book my place in the showdown, and he'll do just that. Gets by Lavallee without any issues at all. Lee Dima might see that as a sign of weakness and go out and attack. Oh, there's contact. He's going to go straight on here as Kip Stevens. He misses everyone. He hits the wall, hits the tyres, and Kip Stevens, just like that, complacency is king. He was going all nice and calm, and then everything went horribly wrong. There's more contact in the background, though, as Janowski gets a tap from Dean Timms.
Ashley Beard got so lucky there. It looked to me as if he was going to get harpooned from behind. That was a really difficult word to say. Harpooned, there you go. From behind by Kip Stevens. Stevens, I'm afraid, becomes what I think is our first retirement. No, because we've also lost Peter Van Gool. Yeah, Ashley Beard, they're very lucky he didn't get absolutely slaughtered.
Well, he gets very lucky the same way that I believe it was Vitantonio Liuzzi. No, sorry, no, that's wrong. I think it was Jensen. It was one of the BAR Hondas that got lucky in 2005 against Kimi Raikkonen's McLaren on the last lap of the European Grand Prix. But it would be Button then, because your F1 knowledge is better than mine, as they look to try and continue to find some consistent pace at the moment. 3-car scrap in the mid-pack. This is 4th, 5th, and 6th at the moment. Ashley Beard, happy to sit on the back at the moment, but he's got to be worried here about Steve Lavallee, who is trying to chase down this group. 130 flat from him last time by, but Ashley Beard 6/10 quicker as Van Gool comes out of pit road with his 1 fast repair. The big issue, though, is how do I get past these XV Racer drivers? They're going to work together to try and make sure I don't gain position. And I think all of these drivers need to start working about half distance coming up. We now need to put ourselves in a position to go out there and to attack and gain some places.
So Brandon followed by Foggy, Danes, Brown and Baxter at this point in time. Only the top 6 covered by 5 seconds at this point, or even 4.5 seconds, with Ashley Beard hanging on to the back of the train. Johnny Brandon's already built up a 2.4 second lead, with Foggy holding up the rest of the train. I'm not sure if that's deliberate or not, to try to force Danes back into the hands of his teammates behind, although I must say it would be a good strategy if that is the case, especially since Foggy is already guaranteed a place in the race for the chase, or a place in the chase to keep it more simple. And further back, Brown, Baxter and Beard are right on the back there, getting involved. Steve Lavallee as well, catching up to them relatively quickly. I reckon he's going to be on the back of them at least by next lap. And then the rest of the field streams through one at a time. All very clean at this point in the race, apart from that incident with Stevens.
Yep, all very clean, all very nice, all very calm at this point in time. Keep a focus, though, on the amateur category championships just for the time being, because there are drivers who are looking to try and find that chase and find all the points possible. Scott Malcolm still leading amateur at the moment in the field in 13th place. He's down 2 from where he started, but crucially, Charles Kellyman has had a very good run over the course of this race. He's up to 15th at the moment, and he's looking at Ethan Bass behind, thinking he could very easily go through as a driver who has gained 10 places over the start of this one. A look for Steve Baxter on the brakes into China Beach. Turn 4, little slide as well, opens the door for Ashley Beard. And I think these XV Racer boys are now thinking about, okay, well, who's the quicker driver? Brown's at the moment in the championship hunt. Baxter is not. He's outside of the top 20. Baxter is merely an enforcer at this point.
Yeah, he's in that awkward attack or be attacked situation, although since Ashley Beard knows that he can work with Baxter here to get past Daniel Brown, I'm not sure that there's going to be quite that same situation. Beard still pressuring. They're coming out through the carousel towards another lap of the race, and dropping back from.
Harris is off.
Oh yeah.
And that's right at the carousel. He was being hunted down by John Roberts, the gentleman. And on the brakes, he just misses his braking point, goes straight on. And it's very difficult to recover around on the outside of the carousel. 3 places go away from him. 1 to Warmingham, 1 to Scott Malcolm, 1, of course, to John Roberts as they go through. Charles Kellyman does not get that place. And now here comes Ethan Bass trying to get down to the inside to make this move. On the brakes he goes. Can he get the move sorted? A big outside line caught up in the marbles, and position gain for Ethan Bass, who will now have to defend all the way down at China Beach at turn 4. No changes of position then as they continue on. Kip Stevens does drop the lap, which is not going to be ideal for him in terms of his challenge for big consistent points in this series. Bass has managed to defend that position as they head themselves into the right of China Beach, and just like that, Charles Kellyman now is trying to play damage limitation.
Talking of damage, heavy damage to the front of Michael Bingham's car, so I expect he got involved in a couple of the incidents towards the start of the race. Still continuing though, and he's actually just made his way past Jim Flanagan. That's in the fight for 24th position further back, although still near the front. The fight for third is going on with
Scott Hardy. He's found himself in the tyres in the background, was heading through to turn 8, caught the curb on the inside, a bit of grass, then ran himself wide. And once you're out there, it's like an ice rink in these sorts of vehicles. Hardy finds himself in the tyres. He'll look to get going again, and there's more drama, and it's Janowski and also Sampson going spread eagle through the carousel. It was almost a case of trying to match your drift. Anything you can do, I might be able to do better. Sampson drops 2 positions for it as they continue to move forward in towards the latter stages of this opening race, but still, it seems at the front, it is all plain sailing at the moment, but very much that was a case of drivers in the mid to late pack making the small errors which keep them down in that amateur category in terms of average lap time.
What team is Baxter racing for? Because I can't see that.
XV Racer.
XV Racer. Okay, so he is on the same team as Brown here, and well, he's got Ashley Beard right behind them. So okay, that makes it a lot clearer for me. So this is 2 XV racers trying to escape the car of Ashley Beard and the Excite Energy car behind, and that's always a difficult situation because despite the fact they have the advantage of being together and not split up, of course it is difficult to get away from the car behind when you're providing them with such a hefty wind block down the straight, and Beard will know that, and he'll be sticking in the slipstream. Of course, Mid-Ohio may be a twisty circuit, although we do have straights. There's a long one between turn 1 and the keyhole. There's another one between turn 2, the keyhole, and up towards China Beach, and also you have a slight one over the start-finish line as well. And all the while there, Ashley Beard will be using those to stick with the cars in front. And as I was saying in qualifying, it's well, you don't really get affected that much through the corners either. So for Ashley Beard here, it's not going to be hampering him too much, and Brown and Baxter just need to make sure that they don't fight each other, don't hold each other up, and work together to catch up to the back of Chris Danes if they can, but if not, at least pull away from Ashley Beard.
There's a big T word, though. It's traffic. It's Kip Stevens that they have to get by, and that's not going to be helpful at all as we are now heading towards the final stages of this race. We expect to have 2 laps to go when they next cross the line. It is going to be mighty tight between that the laps and in terms of the counter to see how much we're going to get through as Kip Stevens takes the very egregious route of going to the grass to make sure he is not lap traffic at all as they go on. Still got other battles in the field. John Roberts, Scott Malcolm, Warmingham Harris and Bass all together looking to try and have their battles. McNally is catching the back of the year 1 car, Carl Jackalette. McNally, your biggest gainer in the field, up 14 places in this opening race and looking to try and get 1 more to make it a magical 15. And by the looks of things, we will have ourselves 2 more laps worth of racing. 1.5 minutes left on the clock when they cross the line. A lap for Johnny Brandon was 1 minute 28.8. So he will cross the start-finish line with about a second to go, which is going to be crucial. It means 1 more revolution of this track. Those who are mighty fine on the fuel may just be too fine come the end of this one, but very, very crucially, it's going to be key to see who can make those moves in the final 2 laps, knowing they've got 1 more chance to go around.
Wow, that time drilled away very, very fast. I didn't see it going,
Bass.
but anyway, yeah, Bass going for it, and They are side by side now, heading up towards China Beach. This is over 14th and 15th in the overall order, and it looks as if he's going to make it stick on the right-hand side. Nicely done. And Harris takes a tighter line out of the corner to try to set himself up for some switchbacks through China Beach. The more sort of conservative but also aggressive line. And well, he's not going to get close enough at this point in time. I think it's very much Bass's position as it stands. With 2 laps to go, it may be too little, too late to catch up to the cars in front.
It may well be, as the white flag comes out just half a second before the timer expires. That's how close the margins were. Wide goes one Dan Brown. He gathers it up on the exit. Ashley Beard has to attack now. Steve Lavalley is on the rear and will want to be aggressive. The best defense, a good offense here. They have the draft of Chris Danes in front, who is there in front by just a small margin overall. And now this run through turn 3 proves very, very vital come the end. Lee Diemer in 8th, Jackalette 9th. McNally confides himself to position 10, but no real chance in the draft to close up and make that move happen, and that's not going to be helpful at all. Baxter very late on the brakes going through, almost looking like he was going to run into the back of his teammate there through the first part of China Beach, up through the madness section, turn 5, the brilliant left-hander that it is, and then back down the hill into turn 6. There's not many overtaking opportunities left. This is a very flowing part of the track. You need to be brave if you're going to go out there and make a move, and these drivers are some of the bravest in the field, and we'll see now how Danes tries to hold on to his podium place as Johnny Brandon rounds himself through the carousel for the final time. Just one slide, the only mistake he's made all race. He's led from the front. It's lights to flag for Johnny Brandon as he takes round 19 of the season. Foggy will get second, and Chris Danes will hold on to the line and pick up third ahead of Dan Brown and the train behind, who couldn't make a move very, very late on in this one. Carl Jackalette will stay ahead of Adam McNally. They fight, though. Scott Malcolm ahead of Warmingham, and then John Roberts as Ethan Bass tries to find his way through. John Roberts dropped 2 positions there in the final lap, and he did that all the way down at turn number 9. He got out on the curb, a big sideways slide, and that allowed Scott Malcolm through and Richard Warmingham as well, as they both found themselves an opportunity to get through. Classified results are as follows. So Johnny Brandon picks the win up in the end. He could cruise to a form finish by 1 second in the end over Nicole Foggy, with Chris Danes finishing that race up in 3rd position. He led home a train of Dan Brown, Steve Baxter, Ashley Beard and Steve Lavalley to make it 5 XV racer cars inside of the top 7. Lee Diemer in 8th position for Excite NG had a good day at the office. Carl Jackalette will get 9th position overall. Adam McNally up from 24th, the 12th row of the grid, to get a top 10 finish.
So top 11, Scott Malcolm, followed by Rich Warmingham, then John Roberts, Ethan Bass, Craig Harris, Charles Kellyman, Daniel James, Steve Cooley, Martin Sampson and Dean Timms was P20.
And then looking down, 21st would go to Carl Hardy, who had himself an off. Andy Maxwell involved on the opening lap with an incident. He gets himself only 22nd. Michael Bingham, 23rd. Jim Flanagan in 24th. The last finisher on the leading lap was Julian Janowski, the Bulgarian, with Kip Stevens and Peter Van Gool 1 lap down. They'll be hoping for a bit of luck in terms of the reverse grid for this next up and coming race, and we'll take you to that right now, because spinning the wheel will be Marco Barbanera, who's been on the cameras for us. He shall spin that wheel. We will see where the first reverse grid number is going to come into play. "25 is the number that we see, so Julian Janowski will be on pole position for the second race of the night. Another 15 minutes. It's where everyone gets their elbows out. They start getting aggressive and they start looking to try and get some big points in terms of the championship. We'll see you in just a couple of moments' time, because we are going to step aside very, very briefly on Forever Sim Racing. Race 20 of the season continues after this.
shadows dancing through the air. Her breath congeals before her eyes. The snow falls inside to the bitter beating of her heart. Swarm.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the BSR TCR Sunday Cup. It's rounds 19 to 21 here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course in Lexington, Ohio. And we welcome you to the second part of our three-part coverage, our 3 rounds of coverage here on Forever Sim Racing. Jake Sperry, Caitlin Penny, Marco Barbanera on cameras provided by Dougie Beard. And everything after that first race was very clean, very orderly, as we get a big reverse grid for this second race. A massive thanks, though, before we move any further, to those who get it done for us. Firstly, a massive shout out goes to Forcex Design, who have been instrumental as our graphics sponsor for this broadcast, as well as, of course, the work that has been done by Violet on the music. You can catch out her stuff on Bandcamp and on Spotify as well. We move ourselves, though, to this second race, an important second race, because it's all about who can make some progress through the field. Only a handful of drivers didn't get the result that they wanted, but most of the amateur category drivers at the front now have their big chance to score points, and this is where, for the AM category championship, this race becomes the vital one, Caitlin.
People flying over the curbs there in the short practice session. Sorry, I was completely distracted from what you were saying by the carnage that I was seeing in Shu. Although that does bring me on to a good point, which was that race 1 was very, very clean, and we haven't seen that for a while in BSR. So I have to congratulate the drivers for one of the best races that I've seen. Sorry, in a while as well. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of what the day can hold, and especially since now we have to see the XV racer cars coming through from the back.
And it will be a tough challenge for them as they will try and make their pushes all the way from the back to get themselves up as far forward as they possibly can. But there are no guarantees in these sorts of races. We've seen end up in disaster before. We've seen Kip Stevens end up on the wrong end of things, but he's been on the wrong end of the reverse grid by about 1 position or so, being caught 26th and 27th himself and Peter Van Gaal. They will have it all to do over the course of the racing action. So what do they have to do? 26th, 27th, all the quicker drivers in front. Do they have to just do what they did one race prior and just stay on the back and hope to stay out of trouble even though it didn't work for them?
Yes.
Well, that's a very succinct answer, and it's not often that we get some of those here at Forever Sim Racing. But we'll keep an eye out on things that are happening. I've just caught an eye on Nicole Foggy, who's just had himself a received throughput, which is not going to be ideal for his start. He needs to get back into Sim incredibly quickly, otherwise he may be missing out on quite a few of those big major points if he cannot get himself into position quick enough. We'll keep an eye on that as this goes. He's got 2.5 minutes of this practice session as he will be able to get himself back in time. He connects back into server just like that. But this is going to be very interesting for a number of reasons. That mid-pack, we saw how Adam McNally in that opening race had to make some positions and got himself up inside the top 10. If anyone's going to be showcasing pace today, Adam McNally is probably favourite for this second race by the fact that he's had to already do it once tonight.
Totally. He's starting relatively near to the front, and as you say, he's had that practice, and he'll know where the drivers are likely to kick off on the first lap, where they're likely to attempt things, and I think that's just going to help fractionally with his anticipation. He'll know slightly more what they're able to do. Although, of course, still you have to actually put that into practice, put that into your muscle memory, I suppose. So for Adam McNally here, really we can't put too much pressure onto him, and it's all going to be about what happens at the start of the race. Do we know who has pole? I know we know the reverse grid number.
It should be Janowski who has pole.
Janowski. Well, Janowski is a driver who tends to finish 11th, I've noticed. That is a position that he's very familiar with. So we'll see if he can get himself into the top 10 this time. Currently top of the practice times. Then again, that is not representative, of course, since not many people have set practice times. And we're just waiting for the start of the race as it is now.
Yes, and we get that start of the race in under 1 minute's time, and every driver now just starts thinking about, okay, what's my preparation going to be? How do I get through every single stage of my start, get myself clean on the opening lap, and then how do I battle fairly with everyone else and make sure that this race is going to play out in favour for this one to all work as this one goes along. So this is going to be a tough challenge for quite a handful of drivers who will look to try and make their push through the field, but never say never when it comes to this series. Consistent points are always going to be on the horizon for those who can keep it out of the wars. We saw that in the opening race. Only 2 drivers a lap down, no retirements out of the 27, which is always a very, very strong sign. And this second race is going to be the big difference maker as time expires here in practice. We will take yourself over to the reduced 1 minute starting grid in just 1 moment's time. A very important round 20 of the championship coming up for you right about and now. So Julian Janowski will be on pole position with Jim Flanagan alongside Michael Bingham, and Andy Maxwell will start from row 2. Row 3 sees Carl Hardy and Dean Timms with Martin Sampson and Steve Cooley 7th and 8th. Daniel James and Charles Kellyman lock row 5. Row 6 sees Harris and Bass, the two teammates. Roberts and Warmingham on row number 7. Scott Malcolm then with Adam McNally. Then it's Carl Jackalette, Lee Deemer, Steve Lavalley, Ashley Beard, Steve Baxter, Dan Brown, Chris Danes, Nicole Foggy, Johnny Brandon, your winner in round 19. Kip Stevens and Peter Van Gool will have to start this one from the back, waiting for Ethan Bass to get himself up onto the starting grid, and then proceedings will be ready to get ourselves over to green flag proceedings here in terms of how this race is going to start. So just that one vehicle waiting in the middle. If he doesn't get himself on in the next 5 seconds, he'll be starting from that place known as pit road, which is always going to be very difficult. 2-1-0, misses his start. He'll have to start from the lane. That's not going to be useful. Lights on top of the gantry. We'll see how this one plays out as the green flag drops for Janowski and they get themselves underway for round 20 of the championship. Good start from Michael Beam, already alongside the Team Mad car as they go through Carl Hardy close to Andy Maxwell's. They make their way into turn number 1 for the very first time. No worries as they go through that section. A little bit aggressive in the mid-pack they go, but no real qualms as they make their way up towards that big keyhole at turn 2. Battle already, trouble in the background there, though, as we see a couple of drivers finding themselves in not very nice positions. One vehicle runs off massively wide, and there's more that keeps to go on, as that's going to be one of the, I believe, McNally there running into issues. Sorry, everyone just trying to get themselves through, but 2 at the front, Janowski and Bingham away. Dean Timms finds himself in 3rd, a hectic start, but a good start nevertheless.
Yeah, one of the cars that started near the back, and therefore one of the contenders went really far off the road twice and just couldn't get it hooked up again. We got another car off there, and I do recognize that car. I think it's Martin Sampson. Yes, it is. He is driving very slowly on the grass, so dropping back through the order. It's changing around already, but still Janowski leads the race. He has got away at the front, and actually the driver who was in strife near the start, or one of the drivers who was in strife near the start, was Jim Flanagan. He's now near the back. Looking up at the front, it's Janowski from Bingham at this point in time, and the main fight is that for 3rd and back.
And 3rd and back is where the train massively is at the moment. Carl Hardy is locking out everyone else. He's got Steve Cooley behind in year 1 car. Then it's Maxwell, Kellyman, Warmingham, and also likes of McNally there, who didn't go off. He's up to 9th position already, sorry. So he's had a good start. Issues in the background. That's Carl Jackalette. Spread eagle sideways as he goes through. There's more contact, and bang, into the wall goes 2, and they stay in the tyres there and get themselves going. It's Brown and Beard. Yes, you're absolutely right there, Caitlin. Both running themselves into trouble, but they stay green, and they will have the long road as McNally gets hip-checked by Warmingham.
2 of the contenders from race 1 there bouncing off the barriers and probably severely affected by that in terms of maybe damage, definitely damage to their race in terms of time. But yeah, continuing on their way, and hopefully that won't
bang!
Slight contact for 3rd. Dean Timms is in the gravel after making very slight contact with Hardy. It looks to me as if he took a defensive line. Hardy didn't expect him to do so, or at least misjudged it slightly, and they came to blows.
Yeah, and that was Carl Hardy trying to go for the up and under. It did not work. He didn't leave enough room through that section, and as such, put into trouble. Now, side by side, 2 of the BritTech SimSport cars. Craig Harris is one of them. Chris Danes is the other, and Danes is through. Now Steve Baxter tries to pick a pocket up Thunder Valley and go around the outside here at that section. Bit of netco contact, and into the tyres goes Steve Baxter, lazily into the tyres, as he will now get himself back to the back of the pack and looks to push forward. It's no good for anyone who's trying to make positions through the field, as already McNally tries to go around the outside of Charles Kellyman and gets the move sorted. So a good move there to move up another position for McNally, who looks to charge, but Janowski has got the run on everyone. He's 2.7 seconds clear at the front of the field, and that may have been his strategy in race 1. A slow race 1, hope for a big reverse grid, and if it happens to get there, I can run away for a free win in race 2. He's got to keep it calm for the remaining 12 minutes of this race, but he's in total command as they battle John Roberts now under pressure from Foggy.
So Roberts under pressure from Foggy. Foggy making his way through the order. In fact, That's Roberts trying to come back at Foggy, since Foggy was ahead of him as they crossed the start-finish line. He's on the outside, and this is going to be hampering Foggy slightly.
one.
Look at Johnny Brandon coming out in the background as well.
Oh,
Oh, big crash, big crash!
A huge crash, and that was not what was going to be ideal. A yellow flag comes out, and a huge accident there, catching pretty much everyone at China Beach. It was with Carl Hardy, who will get his Wrecking Ball mantra back as he goes through. He was trying to get in on the brakes, and there also involved was Andy Maxwell. Maxwell, in fact, was so deep on the brakes. I'll take that away from Carl. That was Andy Maxwell on the brakes, and then there was secondary incidents there, as that is Adam McNally going in on Steve Cooley, just completely checking it up, and then the track gets blocked. Then the caution comes out. We expected it, and there was more and more incident that came along with it, and just like that, a caution at the worst possible time. And for Julian Janowski, who was clear of the field by 4 seconds, mind you, the field comes back to him.
Yeah, I'm afraid Steve Cooley is out of the race. Also, I think Foggy took a bit of a hit in that as well. So hopefully he's got away with fairly minimal damage. Plenty of cars dropping back and slowing down. Actually, Foggy didn't take a hit. I've just looked at the replay. He got through it relatively nicely, and he was only moving slowly because he anticipated the caution, or saw the caution before the others did. A couple of drivers dropped a long way back, but still, as we cross the line for another lap of caution, it's Janowski leading from Bingham, now warming up to third from P14. I tell you what, he may be warming ham, but he's hotter than a bacon in the oven at this point in time. Maxwell currently P4, followed by Charles Kellyman, Carl Jacquelet, then Malcolm Danes, Stevens, and McNally make up the top 10. And further back, we start to get to the drivers affected by various incidents so far. Although I think we only have one driver who's actually visited the pit lane so far, and that's Steve Cooley.
Well, I'm more concerned about the fact that you put your bacon in the oven, so I don't quite know how that one works out in the long and short of things. But
you know, I'm really annoyed about that, because I was preparing that joke for so long, and then when it started to come out, it all came out like diarrhea. It was rubbish. So yeah, sorry about that.
I believe what we need is Adam Sandler to say you blew it at that point in time.
I blew it, yes.
You blew it. But ultimately, 3 laps under caution is going to be what happens next. And these drivers know that they're not going to need fuel, they're not going to need tyres, and those maybe towards the back maybe could take their fast repair and get themselves out on slightly fresher rubber, give themselves an opportunity to go out there and attack. It's going to be tough to keep those tyres up to temperature. Track temp is 41 degrees out on track. It is hot around this place, so they've got to make sure they keep going. The good news for drivers at the front of the field is actually diving down onto pit road will be Adam McNally to try and get himself in. He got clogged in the rear and he'll take his fast repair. The good news for drivers is that they are going to be running out of time, and it's for those towards the front of the field. The likes of Nicole Foggy, Johnny Brandon and co, they will take a very long time to get themselves back going, as out of pit road will come Steve Cooley a lap down with the fast repair. This is going to be a tough challenge for all of these drivers as they all look to try and find themselves that one magical chance to make this race work. Lights, of course, on the iRacing Porsche first safety car off. We will go green this time by. But for the likes of, say, Michael Bingham and Andy Maxwell, they are going to be in great positions. Carl Jacquelet, though, has had a great run so far. He's up to 6th.
Yeah, Jacquelet up to 6th from 17th on the grid. He's one of the biggest chargers so far in this race, although not quite as big as Kip Stevens, who's jumped from 26th to 9th at this point in time. That's really, really big. And in front of him as well, Chris Danes, 23rd to 8th. They obviously got through the accident okay, and gained advantage from the cars going off in front of them. And then, of course, we have big losers as well, such as Jim Flanagan, 2nd to 12th, Dean Tim, 6th to 17th, Carl Hardy, 5th to 22nd, and a few others such as Steve Cooley, 8th to well, he's rejoined the train, but he's a lap down. So some real winners and losers there. A shake-up of the order as we prepare to go green.
We do prepare to go green, and Julian Janowski in control of that field, and we'll see how he decides to make that restart happen. Bingham 2nd, Warmingham in 3rd place, so it's going to be a very tough challenge for drivers, as off actually goes Steve Baxter as he decides to go off as everyone looks to try and make their push through the field. At the back is Ashley Beard in 26th position, and we'll try and make that one work in favour for him. But for Janowski, it's all about how do I back this field up, and look at how he now decides to back them up, heading through up Thunder Valley in towards turn 11, and he's now got to be cautious about how he decides to make that restart, as drivers will now start to concertina up as the pace car will dive down onto pit road. Janowski goes immediately, and he had 3 car lengths there to work with, and even more so, Bingham was caught sleeping, but so was everyone else in the field as they make that charge through. Already now, Chris Danes looking to be the aggressor as he tries to get past Scott Malcolm here into turn 1. He makes the big lunge down the inside and gets it completely wrong as he gets a tap, and he is fed out into the grass as Jacqueline gets past Charles Kellyman to move up inside the top 5. A disaster start for Danes, who moves behind Foggy, and now Brandon as well, 3 wide almost into the keyhole.
He rejoined and managed to keep away from causing an incident with those. I was worried about the rejoin because he fired a long way off the track, and he often can get disconcerted in situations like that. Now Foggy showing his nose to Brandon, showing him that he wants to come through, and go through he does. They're 3 wide ahead of them with Stevens, Roberts, and there's contact, and off go Stevens and Roberts. They're both in the barrier. No, Stevens still on the road. That's someone else getting involved. They come back on, and round goes Brandon, not Brandon, it's Flanagan.
Yeah, it is Flanagan who's gone around, which is not ideal at all. So he is going to be in a good position as they look to try and attack and push and make sure that their racing goes on. But 3 already into trouble, and they were just too wide in that section, and it never really paid dividends for them as they look to make that push. They look to try and have their battle. On the brakes they go into the final couple of corners. A slide for Janowski, not ideal. Rich Warmingham trying to battle it out for second with Michael Bingham. Just 5 minutes remaining and under now in this race. A lot of time taken off of the clock with the safety car that came out. It changed everything over the course of this race. Drivers now have to get aggressive, likes of Brandon, Dane, Stevens, and Foggy all together. Kip Stevens started 26th. He's back up into 8th place, but now he's under pressure here as here comes Kip, and Brandon runs wide in the background. Not part of the plan, and he just gathers it up and takes a million cones with him as Danes will now go to the outside. Will Kip Stevens fight this one hard? He's on that inside line. He's going to make life difficult here for Chris Danes, and Danes is not going to be too happy about it, but now he's got to get the run here towards China Beach.
Wonderful from Stevens.
For
Great
second.
defense, but now they've got Johnny Brandon on their tail as well. But look at second place, because we got Warmingham up the inside.
Oh, no.
Bingham. Oh, there's a touch. And Warmingham, well, he's got the place. Bingham stayed within the lines just about. I was expecting him to go firing off like Foggy in race 1, although managed to keep it under control. Now, what can Warmingham do about chasing down Janowski? Let me try that joke again. His laps now have to be hotter than any ham I've ever tasted. There you go.
There we go. Second time. We'll just do a re-edit on that, and we won't post that one over to our Facebook, which you can catch, of course, at the Forever Sim Racing Facebook page. Make sure you like if you haven't already. But keep your eyes on the racing action. Rich Warmingham is going to be the man on the chase. Janowski is not out of the woods just yet, as now Johnny Brandon finds himself under pressure here. Kip Stevens and now Chris Danes, who's lost a couple places on this lap, trying to go around the outside of Kip Stevens. That doesn't work too often. Kip's too wily, the Bermuda man, to make sure that he deals with those. So he is able to deal with that pretty simply as they move on forward, as they head themselves towards another lap. And just 2 more remaining as into the pits comes Dan James as he looks to go through and serve a drive-through penalty there at that section. Bingham runs wide through turn 2. Rich Warmingham, though, took 4 tenths out of Janowski. Gap is 8 tenths of a second when they cross the line. It's going to be very close. You've also got Carl Jacqueline and Andy Maxwell. They're going at it right now for 4th position, and Foggy is chasing everyone down. Charles Kellyman, looking for the amateur category lead, now has to play defensive as well. Jacqueline, does he think about diving to the inside? No, he doesn't. Kellyman lets Nicole Foggy go on the brakes, but he overcooks it, not expecting it, and now they'll go back too wide. Well, you've had your one chance, I'll go back at you this time. Doesn't think better of it the second time round. Foggy does get the position.
Foggy up into P6 at this point in time. I'm also interested in warming him because he is already on the back of Janowski, and I wouldn't be surprised if he is in attacking range before long, probably before the end of next lap at this rate. However, we don't have that much time remaining in the race, although Janowski here will be feeling under a lot of pressure and will not be a fan of whoever called out the caution. But anyway, towards the end of another lap of racing, Janowski followed by Warmingham, and behind, they're almost fighting there, Maxwell and Jacala again, and Maxwell's going to run wide, and he's off the road, and he's in the gravel, and it looks to me as if Jacala can have fourth. Oh, he almost rejoined right into his side. They did make slight contact. Jacala claims fourth position.
You can't rejoin like that, Andy. It was always going to end in disaster if you tried it, as he tried to door his way back onto track. Here's Nicole Foggy, though. He's going to take full advantage of this and try and get himself up around the outside to make this work on the last lap of the race here. Lap 9 here at Mid-Ohio, and he gets the move done around the outside of the keyhole. He'll have all the draft in the world to work with as well, as the lead has extended up to a second now for Julian Janowski over Rich Warmingham, and only his second start of the season as they make their way into the right-handers of China Beach, the madness part of China Beach, and then towards turn 6 as well. It's Janowski in complete control. Question is, will Carl Jackalette be caught between now and the end of this race? I'm not sure year one are going to be all entirely happy and safe with this one, with a big overtaking opportunity that can come about up at the carousel, but at the moment it seems nothing doing at this point in time in terms of any moves of any variety at this point. Jackalette, couple of tenths of a second of advantage in his favour as he makes his way up through the left-hander of turn number 10, but just like that, Julian Janowski, with a bit of help from the safety car, not as easy as he would have liked it, lights the flag himself. 1, 2, 3, big victory, big help for him. Jackalette will fight hard all the way to the checkered, and Foggy's going to run out of the road with the early start-finish line. He couldn't get the move done when they crossed the line. A great battle as also Baxter there trying to find a way past Harris. He's not going to get the move done with a big battle pack there in the middle of the field as the last few drivers come over the line with official classified results like this. So it'll be Julian Janowski who picks up the win by 1.4 seconds over Rich Warmingham in the XV Racer team car. He gets there by in second position, up 12 for the day. Michael Bingham starts where he finished as well. A good third place for him, taking advantage of the safety car. Fourth position would go to Carl Jackalette then, after he gained himself up from 17th. Nicole Foggy proves once again why he is the starlet of this field. He gets himself a top 5 finish after starting this one back in 24th. Andy Maxwell gets 6th place after a big dive causing the safety car. He may get involved in incident here or there. 7th would go to Johnny Brandon. Chris Daines would get 8th. 9th would go to Charles Kellyman, with Kip Stevens rounding out the top 10.
11th place at the end of that was Lee Diemer, who has just had a crash after the finish line. Adam McNally was P12, followed by Martin Sampson, Craig Harris, Steve Baxter, Ethan Bass, Peter Van Gool, Daniel Brown, Steve Lavalley, and Carl Hardy was P20 after his issues while fighting for third.
Ashley Beard gets 21st with Scott Malcolm 22nd. Dean Timms, Jim Flanagan 23rd and 24th. Flanagan 24th after starting second. John Roberts gets 25th. Daniel James gets 26th on the leading lap. Steve Cooley 1 lap down in the end in 27th position overall. But what we're going to do for the final time tonight, a 30-minute feature coming up for you, the final race here at Mid-Ohio. All eyes turn to that as we get a spinny wheel up out there for you. We're going to spin it with Marco Barbanera, our cameraman here, and we'll see where that position ends up. It's a 4-3 reverse grid, which will mean Jim Flanagan will take pole position for that next round. It's a 24-car reverse grid then for this one. We're going to step aside for the final time this evening. We'll be back with the 30-minute feature race after this. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the BSR TCR Sunday Cup here on Forever Sim Racing. It's Jake Sperry once again here with Caitlin Penny and Marco Barbanero watching some brilliant battling as everything has been getting itself underway and going, as now we get the 30-minute feature coming up in just a moment's time. But we do have to give our massive thanks to those who get it done for us. Firstly, of course, to Forcex Design as our graphics sponsors here at Forever Sim Racing, as well as Violet, who has been instrumental with the music. You can get her stuff over at Bandcamp and on Spotify as well, especially the song that's heard to begin and end these broadcasts, Monolith to a Halcyon, as well as Convergence. But Caitlin, 30 minutes, more time on the clock, more chances for battling, a track which does lead to cleaner racing, but always very, very difficult for things to go right, to go wrong. You always have to take these races with a pinch of caution because there aren't too many great places to make moves.
I always love these third races. They you never know what to expect. You know, it's like that famous movie quote, it's like a box of chocolates. But anyway, those can be very, very sweet, very mellow chocolates. They can be very exciting, very, very sugary chocolates, or they can be violent chocolates that try to punch you in the face and throw carbon fiber everywhere or whatever. But whatever the case, it's going to be half an hour of racing action for us to watch. We've got drivers making their way through from the back due to the nature of these reverse grids. We've got other drivers who are affected in the earlier races, starting closer to the front than they would be expecting for this race, and for them it's all about taking advantage. And as a result, it's going to be a thriller, whatever happens. I'm sure of it.
Well, a thriller it definitely will be. We'll see how this one plays out in the long and the short of it. But again, a big reverse grid once more. And I think a few drivers here are looking at this reverse grid. Another large one thinking, oh, more overtaking, more opportunities. We've got to pick off drivers one at a time. It is that sort of circuit, though, Caitlin, where side by side doesn't happen too often. If you can do it early enough in the course of a lap, you can get about half a lap side by side if you force it. If you're stuck at the wrong point trying to make a move, you're going to be right behind with a good amount of time, and it's going to be at least a good half a lap before you can get a move sorted. How much planning has to go into making a move at this track?
Well, the thing I like about moves at this track is that there are parts of the course, for example, heading through China Beach and then into the lesser S's as well, where if you get alongside your opponent and you find yourself on the outside, it's not necessarily game over because they tend to go left, right, left, right, left, right. That means that if you can hold on, if you can be brave, and if you can make sure that your opponent knows you're there so you don't all end up in a crumpled heap, you can make some quite brave moves through there, which can be very effective because your opponents won't see them coming. And we've seen that a lot from, I remember Nicole Foggy, who pulled a really quite special one in race 1 around the outside of turn 5. So realistically, it doesn't really matter what side of your opponent you're on through the entrance to turn 4. If you can get alongside them and you can be braver than them, then that is a situation where you can really start to benefit. So that's probably the best overtaking option on the track. The keyhole is also often an overtaking opportunity, as is turn 1 sometimes, although those are much wider, much longer corners, so they tend to be difficult.
They certainly do. Gridding process starts now. Jim Flanagan and Dean Timms will be on the front row. Scott Malcolm and Ashley Beard on row 2. Then it's Carl Hardy and Steve Lavalley with Dan Brown and Peter Van Gool. Ethan Bass starts from 9th. Steve Baxter in 10th. From there, Sampson, McNally, Dima Stevens and Kellyman. Then Danes, Johnny Brandon, Andy Maxwell, Nicole Foggy and Carl Jackalette. Michael Bingham, Rich Warmingham, Julian Janowski, John Roberts, Daniel James and Steve Cooley make the 26, taking to this final grid of the night. All eyes after this race are going to be turning to Monza in 1 week's time. Make sure you join us with Forever Sim Racing for that. But a minute to grid up or to start from pit road. That is the question as we wait for one more driver, that being Nicole Foggy, to get up onto the starting grid. He will make everybody wait for the championship leader, and he grids up now. Light procedure will start for the final time tonight here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course as this round 21 of the championship jump start for Dean Timms, and we'll get ourselves going. He'll have to come down the lane. He jumped the start by a good country mile. A slow start for Hardy, and Brown will go through, as will Lavalley, as everyone tries to funnel through. They're 4 wide at stages, trying to get through the opening corners. It's all right. No, it's not. Hardy's gone sideways. More vehicles go sideways, but able to keep it together, keep it calm. Drama in the background. I think that's Janowski who's just gone round, and that is Janowski who's just gone round. So a dramatic start as a jump start and more, as wide goes Flanagan at the front, and that gives the lead to one of the Excite Energy cars, and that's Ashley Beard, and more off in the gravel then as they go through in the middle of the pack. It's all kicked off.
Yeah, trying to work out who went off. It was
Maxwell.
Maxwell, yeah, indeed. And Janowski was indeed very badly affected, as was Roberts. Roberts went flying off at the start. And also Dean Timms has dropped right back down the order. Not only will he have to serve a penalty for a jump start, Brown's off again.
Yeah, Brown's off at turn 4. He was going for the race lead. He didn't quite get past Ashley Beard, and he drops to the mid-pack. So very aggressive off the start. It's now Ashley Beard who leads it. Steve Lavalley in second. Third is Ethan Bass. Got Malcolm fighting for fourth with Steve Baxter. Is there room? Bang! Contact into the side of the door. And now trying to go around the outside to get this move done is Baxter. He runs out of road. He's not going to get it at Thunder Valley as they start pushing forward, looking for more time, more places, more positions. But Ashley Beard, for the third straight week, finds himself right up the pointy end of this race with, of course, 30 minutes on the clock. Off goes Kellyman in the Team Mad car. He gathers it up together. Down the inside goes Steve Baxter as well, just in front, and he gains a position. And Chris Dane says, thank you, down the inside at the final corner. No, he doesn't. Round he goes, gets the turn. He'll be fuming on stream as he gets himself turned, and he will look to try and get back again as his tempo will rise, and Chris Danes will now have a long road home.
I feel sorry for Danes, but I must say I'm looking forward to watching that back on his stream. Someone else running wide there, going through turn 1. It's Daniel Brown there. Oh, and Malcolm's off on the inside. That's a very weird place to go off. I think he must have lost under braking. Somehow manages to keep that position anyway. He's got Brown right behind him, who made a really good recovery from his off last lap. Brown is going to go around the outside of him here. They're almost going 3 wide in the background as well. Although for now, Brown takes 5th position. Nicely done. Let's watch in the background to see if they all go through cleanly. Just about.
Kellyman. Uh-oh, and he just about gathers it up, and now Brandon's trying to get down the inside. There's a vehicle sideways in the background. That's one of the Brитec Sim Sport cars there. That's Dan James, who finds himself there. Hardy's run wide. They're 3 wide, and he loses it, and just about everyone gets by him. There's more contact with the Year 1 car going through. That's Jacqueline and Van Gool coming together, and that's Flanagan getting contact with Nicole Foggy, who just about keeps it out of the tyres and goes forward and loses 8 positions going forward. And there's more contact, more, round goes one, and straight across. Flanagan trying to get through. More contact that goes through that section. They just about keep it nicely. Van Gool's in the fence as well. They stay green, but a dramatic moment there as they go through, and that mid-pack now completely splintered.
Carnage again. I expected to see that at the start of this race. You do tend to get situations like that when drivers are trying to make their way through the field and past slower or less experienced drivers. It does tend to go wrong at times, and that appears to be what's happened again. I don't think... Okay, well, Danes and Timms are both in the pits, so it looks like we've had 2 retirements or 2 drivers currently serving, currently making pit stops. Now we've got Lavalley. Well, he took a look for the lead there, not quite close enough, although definitely went for it. And I think that was a full-on attacking maneuver there, although it has to sit in second place for now. I don't think that's going to last long because...
I've just caught an eye on Johnny Brandon, there, Caitlin. Just ran wide through turn 4, lost it in the mid parts of the corner, just carried too much speed, able to gather it up without loss of position there. Kip Stevens giving him the room, but ultimately, everyone in their own little two-car packs. You've got Beard and LaValle at the front, Bass and Baxter together, Brown on his own, but Scott Malcolm and Martin Sampson together, Johnny Braden trying to chase down the field. We have seen a change of position this lap. Lee Deemer and Adam McNally, the two teammates, changing their positions too, so everything seemingly going off at the moment, but for the lead, LaValle trying to stay patient, trying to get a win in his opening week here in BSR TCR, with, of course, Ashley Beard trying to pick up his first win of the season after he's been robbed on numerous occasions from a big victory. He's not quite in the right position just yet, but he's in that waiting zone looking for something to happen.
So towards the end, or towards the start of another lap, we're almost 5 minutes into the race now, and it feels like it's been half an hour already, such as the carnage been. I feel like I've aged a year. But anyway, we continue on in the race. It's close for 11th, Team McNally and Deemer, but I'm more interested in the leaders here because we've got LaValle again taking a look at Beard, not quite close enough, and we've seen that 2 laps in a row through there. Hopefully he doesn't start getting desperate soon, because that can often lead to more carnage. He's followed through by the rest of the field. Everyone's single file pretty much into China Beach. Although I tell you what, Deemer didn't look too happy about being stuck behind McNally this time around, and I can't help but feel that something's got to give in some of these fights throughout the field.
Something does, and something definitely does. Nicole Foggy's caught the back of Adam McNally now. Looking to, Lee Deemer, trying to make the move. So Lee Deemer very much calm on the defense here, trying to get as many points as he can to fight for a top 10, which he is, of course, fighting his teammate for. Adam McNally he needs a top 9 even, to think about maybe getting himself into those magical transfer spots for the showdown as racing continues. LaValle again close though at the front of the field, looking to pick up the move. Again, Ashley Beard goes defensive, and this is the closest we've seen LaValle, who makes the big lunge down to the inside. A gasp from our director as he thinks about making the move. Almost swiped the rear away. Ashley Beard does enough though to defend, and now LaValle wants to get the move done and get it done quickly, because they're seeing drivers behind trying to chase down this pack. And again, hard to the inside through turn 3. Is there a channel open? No, there's not. Long way around it must be, Steve, as you get on the brakes at China Beach at turn 4. And again, every step of the way, Ashley Beard shows his resilience, and he's got himself the position still. Brilliant driving between those two.
Yeah, indeed, it's a close fight for the lead there, as it has been pretty much the entire time. Steve LaValle not allowing Ashley Beard to get away. These two started 4th and 6th on the grid, but they're up to the front already, and this is what I was talking about drivers starting closer to the front than they were expecting and capitalizing on it. But remember, if they come together, they won't be capitalizing on it. They will be dropping it down through the order. So need to remain clean while they're fighting, not lose too much time. But I tell you what, there's not going to be any no you go first in this fight. This is furious racing. Across the line we go again, and the gap between the two of them is 0.176. You don't get much closer than that. LaValle took a little look there into turn 1, probably trying to upset Beard, try to unsettle him, but at that point in time, you're probably just unsettling yourself and setting yourself up for a poor exit speed. Now heading again onto the back straight. This is where the slipstream might happen, Jake.
It certainly will, and we've seen now how Ethan Bass has caught within a second here, and he's brought Steve Baxter with him, so that's help for LaValle, who will have a XVR teammate to try and help pick away past Ashley Beard, who again goes hard to that inside and tries to pinch on that outside, making LaValle have to really fight for this position, and at the right place at the right time, there's a bump coming from LaValle, who now says, Ashley, we've done this maybe 3-4 times now. I'm bored. I want to get through. I want to make some moves. I want to get to the lead and run away with a race win on my debut race meeting here in the BSR TCR. Ashley Beard doesn't care. He does what he does best. He defends from the front, and he defends with absolutely everything that he has. Some good work as McNally has been overtaken now by Nicole Foggy. Next up for Foggy will be Kip Stevens, as the likes of Martin Sampson run slightly wide, bringing Jacqueline into play. The top 9 split by 8 seconds and closing. Top 5 now split by 2.5 and under. Dan Brown closing in on the train as well, and soon Johnny Brandon will start thinking about to chase down Ashley Beard and co. You can't stay there forever, and if he can for half an hour, which he's already gone 10 minutes of, it's going to be great for Beard, and he's under pressure here heading to 2.
And suddenly it's 5 for the lead. Goodness me. Beard followed by Lavalley, and then a whole chain. Bass, Baxter and Brown also in it. Lavalley taking a look to the outside line. Around the outside of the keyhole. That's not going to work, but he is. Well, he's got a good run out of it here. He's going to be in the slipstream before long. And, well, I think he still thinks he's alongside Beard, and now he is, actually, although there's a slight right-hand kink, which isn't going to work in his favour. Now towards turn 4, let's test out my theory that if you get alongside into turn 4, it doesn't really matter what side you're on. Lavalley on the left, Beard on the right. Beard not squeezing him off the road. We've seen that happening a couple of times, and they're sticking side by side as they go down through the dip and over the crest of the hill. And more slight contact. That's not going to end well. And somehow they're still both on the road, and it's Beard who stays ahead.
He survives, but only for a moment here as Thunder Valley comes up. And now Dan Brown trying to think about attacking his teammate here in the form of Stephen Baxter. Not going to find it then. Up the hill they go into the left-hander then of turn number 11. And then into 12 they come along. And again, it's Ash Beard who finds himself at the front and just defending with everything that he's got. Keep an eye on Johnny Brandon's time. He did a 28.9 that last time by. Look how hard they had to fight. It was a 30.6 from Ashley Beard at the front of the field. Johnny Brandon, 28.9, 1.7 seconds quicker, and he's only 4 seconds down the road, and he's got 3 teammates who can help try and push Johnny Brandon through. But here's Lavalley once again, looking to the outside to try and get this done. This is the big battle at the front of the field we've been keeping an eye out on, because Ash Beard has been fantastic on the defence. Other battles have been going on, especially down for the amateur category, like Sir Charles Kellyman, Carl Hardy, John Roberts, all together on the road. But look at this, side by side again for the lead. Lavalley going to the long way round for the 5th time. Where does Bass go? And finally, there's an overlap and an advantage here for Lavalley, and he's going to get the move done here. He's got everything that he wants on that inside, and again locked up. They're now formation racing as they go through towards turn 2, and just like that, Lavalley finally takes the lead after 10 minutes trying to find a way through. That's dedication.
Yeah, goodness me, Lavalley there going through, and he had to go somewhere because he was being pushed from behind by Bass, and Bass had to go somewhere and slot in as well because he was being pushed behind from Baxter, who also slotted in because he was being pushed by Brown, and that's where we ended up with what looked like a NASCAR formation, 2x2, as they went through the China Beach S's. And somehow they've all made it through there, but that was some of the closest racing that I've seen in a long time. Across the line, Steve Lavalley now registered as the race leader, followed by Beard, Bass, Baxter, Brown, and Brandon. Goodness me, is there an unwritten rule somewhere that says that if you're racing in the top 6, your name has to start with B? If there is, then Lavalley has completely ignored that, but everyone else sticking well and truly to that rule. Beard, Bass, Baxter, Brown, and Brandon. Then it's Malcolm in 7th position, a little way back. Carl Jacquelet, Martin Sampson, and then Nicole Foggy trying to make up positions. He's right on the back of Sampson as it stands.
It's all about how good is your pace as they get on the brakes once again into China Beach. The leading 5 do so once more, and now the legs can start stretching for Steve Lavalley as he tries to find himself a breakaway at every given point, at every given time, through every corner, trying to find an inch, a tooth, a claw, a tenth here and there is always going to be useful in the long and the shorter things, as Martin Sampson has been overtaken now by Nicole Foggy, who moves inside the top 10 very, very crucially in terms of the course of this race as these battles still continue. Out on track, your front 5 line astern at this point, but you've still got others trying to make some moves here. Michael Bingham and Jim Flanagan going at it as Van Gool tries to get past Andy Maxwell right down the field here. This is the final battles here. 22nd, 23rd, Maxwell goes off, he finds the grass, and that's going to be a long, long recovery from there.
So the end of another lap of racing, still 5 for the lead, and actually Johnny Brandon's closing up. So that's interesting. He's come through from 17th on the grid, and wants very much to get involved in that fight for the lead. What have you spotted, Jake?
I spotted Steve Baxter going incredibly wide through turn 1, able to gather it up, but he's run a little deep here, and this is going to allow Brown the chance to go down the inside. I'm not sure they're going to fight too hard over this for fear of losing Bass on the train, and they've just managed to swap those positions nicely. So good work, but also that also coordinates as a bridge between the divide to bring Johnny Brandon back in. Will Baxter fight this one back on teammate Brown? I think they'll work with each other here, and they decide, yes, let's stay in formation for a little bit. Half distance scored at the end of this lap with LaValle, Beard in second, Bass in third. So they will all be happy with where they are at the moment, trying to focus on maybe that one extra position here, that one extra position there, being so vital as that train starts stringing out. Ashley Beard not going away from Steve LaValle though, and that's going to be worrying the 38. The fact that Ashley Beard can stay in the draft and has been able to make these positions before, as John Roberts finds himself in a fight with Dan James, and he gets the move done.
So towards the end of another lap, it's still very close up front, but as you say, fighting all the way throughout the field. Roberts just passing James there, and making it stick. He's now got Hardy right in his tail as well, so that's very close over 15th position further back. But I reckon we're going to get some significant changes here in the top 6, because we've now got Johnny Brandon right on the back of the train as well, and that pushing force that I was talking about earlier is just going to be multiplied and magnified even more than it was before. So down towards China Beach here, I think someone's going to have to go for a move. It's attack or be attacked, and it's about to kick off here at Mid-Ohio.
It is, and look at that, Ashley Beard getting out of the draft on the way in. Was he trying to get into the mirrors of Steve LaValle, trying to force a mistake, or was he just trying to keep enough of a gap that he doesn't attack through the mid part? And look at the team orders then from Johnny Brandon coming through on Steve Baxter. He is not going to be stopped by teammates, and he knows that his teammate leads this race. He will have his way through this field as he fights for a championship, and there was going to be no arguments had, as there is also a battle going on 7th, 8th and 9th at the moment, as Scott Malcolm, the amateur, holds back Carl Jacquelet and Nicole Foggy at this point in time. Foggy closest he's ever been, but ultimately Carl Jacquelet is going to be the first for the Year 1 team to have that defence, and you're not going to try and find many moves to be done here at this beautiful carousel corner. No chance of making the move. It's a waiting game once more for Nicole Foggy.
All of these drivers doing an excellent job at this point in the race. We're 16.5 minutes in as we cross the start-finish line for another time. I've also noticed in the background that Malcolm, Jacqueline and Foggy have really closed in. We were just talking about them, but they're even closer now than they have been the previous few sectors, let alone laps, and Foggy's off.
Foggy's off and back on. He's taken 6 cones with him. We need a vintage cone camera, I think, Dougie, for the next camera pack that we do if we find tracks with cones, because it seems that every single time we see them there at turn 1, cones are going to get absolutely scattered through that section. But there's battles a little bit further back as Carl Hardy and Julian Janowski go at it for 16th place here on the road. Bang! Contact. And just like that, Janowski goes absolutely nowhere in the middle of that pack. Carl Hardy was not letting him through with anything that he's got, as Jacquelet moves through on Scott Malcolm, gets himself up into 7th position. A great defensive move is by being aggressive, allowing Scott Malcolm to be fed to the wolves, whilst Jacquelet can try and run away as quickly as he can. The crucial thing in the battle at the front, Ethan Bass is losing the back of Ashley Beard, and Dan Brown might just start thinking about making the move pretty quickly, because there's no other way he's going to try and find himself with a podium.
The gap between the two of them was less than 0.6 of a second, pretty much half a second through the last checkpoint, and Bass himself was only 0.8 of a second behind Beard. But looking at the gap visually, I reckon it's about a second now, and indeed as they cross the line it's just under a second, so still he's in slipstreaming range, although definitely dropping back, and he's under pressure from Brown at this point in time. Jacquelet now registered in 7th position, not too far ahead of Malcolm, but I think mainly it's between Malcolm and Foggy in that fight now. Foggy not dropping too far away from the back of him, and now taking a look to the inside. I think that was speculative, just showing himself through his mirrors, which does work. It can very much unsettle the car in front, especially when it's someone renowned such as Nicole Foggy, championship leader-elect, I think, as he is this round. Now in the slipstream of Malcolm, taking a look to the right-hand side, and that looks to me as if he is going to go for an out-braking maneuver now.
He is, and he's trying it, but Scott Malcolm will fight every step of the way. The championship leader as he looks to become amateur championship leader, but no dice. Straight through goes Nicole Foggy. Scott Malcolm had nothing to fight with at that point in time, so they still continue to fight, and the lead very much on still. Ashley Beard and Steve LaValle all there together, and it's those two trying to break away and wait as long as you can to try and make that move. Can that be the place to think about as now Johnny Brandon starts thinking about his teammate Dan Brown in front, and Brown won't be as easy to get himself let Johnny Brandon through. He'll be a lot more reluctant because he is fighting for a top 9 transfer spot of his own.
Towards the end of another lap, we've got just over 10 minutes remaining, so we're 2/3 of the way into the race, and still it's anyone's game pretty much all the way through. 6 for the lead still, and also Jacqueline Foggy fighting behind. Foggy taking a look. He's on the left-hand side of Jacquelette's car.
Easy.
And Jacqueline, yeah, easy peasy. He's done it miles before the braking zone, and gets slowed down in time as well. So no real problems there. I'm also watching Beard, Bass, Brown, Brandon, all of the Bs heading up into to China Beach again, and all of them making it through okay. Once again, I thought that one of them was at least going to take a look, but everything nice and steady through the field at this point in time. The gap for the lead that last time through was 0.4 of a second.
Oh, here comes the move. Oh, that's too brave! Too brave from Dan Brown. He hits Bass, and just like that, they're going to be 3 wide, and Johnny Brandon's going to get them both in that point. Bass is not happy about that. That was way too ambitious there from Dan Brown, and Johnny Brandon gets his result and now can start attacking Beard and LaValle here for the race lead. Just like that, bang! That's how it happened.
Right, so we'll have to see what the updated order is at the end of this lap. But yeah, a little bit clumsy there. It's Brandon up to 3rd, followed by Brown and Bass, and then Baxter in 6th position. And Baxter, I'm afraid, has dropped off the back of them. Nicole Foggy's registered 7th coming through, so he's past Jacqueline. Jacqueline still in close attendance with him, but dropping back, as is Malcolm. Behind them, Sampson and McNally are fighting over P11, and they've got Kip Stevens for close company as well. And then as the rest of the field swing through, John Roberts and Julian Chernovsky are fighting over 15th place with Daniel James in close attendance. I've got to stop, my throat is awful.
Well, you've only got 9 more minutes of torture to go, but still, it seems like this is going to be some very good battling. Here comes McNally, though, thinking of the move on Sampson here. Can he get this done here for 10th place? He thinks about the inside, pinched very hard to the outside there. Martin Sampson, who left a lot of room, but around the outside, McNally now can attack in the Excite Energy car. Looking back down the inside here at the 3rd part of the China Beach S's, here at turn 6, and now through the 2nd S's here, 7 and 8, and he gets that one beautifully. Can Kip Stevens take advantage? Oh, that's cheeky down the inside to pick up that 11th place position there for Kip, and he gets himself another great move done and under the books, as now another lap gets itself lopped off here. They start lap 16 here at Mid-Ohio, and still the 2 at the front have themselves that advantage, but look at Johnny Brandon closing. He took 4/10 out of the leader.
Johnny Brandon 3rd place, just over 1.5 seconds off the back, and you can tell that with 7.5 minutes remaining until we get the checkered out, he can sniff that victory. He can see it all happening ahead of him. LaValle, I wouldn't be surprised if LaValle's trying to back Beard off here. He'll be possibly slowing mid-corner and getting a good exit so that Beard can't pass him, but also can't make up any time. And that will be dropping them both back towards Johnny Brandon. I think XV Racer are aiming for at least a 1-2 here, possibly better if they can get it. Not saying that is exactly what's going on, although I think it must be in the back of their minds at this point in time. And and they're bringing Daniel Brown and Ethan Bass with them as well. Incidentally, Nicole Foggy's already caught Steve Baxter as well,
And
so he's
through.
going to make his way, and he's through, so he's up into 6th position now. And I wonder if Foggy can possibly catch the top 5. It's a
No.
big ask, but they're all fighting, so who knows?
It's 4 seconds, but they're not battling each other really aggressively 4 seconds. It's got to be pure pace for Nicole Foggy, and I think even he thinks it's a bridge too far at this point in time. He did a 28.4 that last time by, only took 2/10 out of Ethan Bass, and that pretty much says all that you need to know about the racing here. 6 minutes to go here at Mid-Ohio. That is a good 5 laps worth of racing left, with a bit of spare change there at the end of it. So Johnny Brandon now closes the gap down to 1.2 now to Ashley Beard. He's running 1:28.3. He's looking to get the fastest times in the field to get that extra showdown bonus point for fastest lap. It might be 1, it might be 2. My memory's a little bit hazy. But here's Steve LaValle again. And now Ashley Beard's got to start thinking here. Do I start getting aggressive and making the move, or do I allow Johnny Brandon onto the rear, knowing that LaValle and Brandon will work together to phase me out? I don't know where Ashley Beard is, but he's in Schrodinger's overtake without much hope of an opportunity.
Schrodinger's overtake, that's a wonderful, wonderful, what's the word? I'm thinking of the word aneurysm. It's not that, it's, some type of story. Never mind. LaValle versus Beard for the lead. My apologies. Still chasing each other down. Analogy, that's the word, not aneurysm. Oh my word. I think I must be having an aneurysm at this point in the day. Johnny Brandon chasing them down. Daniel Brown in close attendance. Bass, 5th place. Foggy getting away from Baxter in 6th. My apologies.
Well, it's all well and dandy as they continue to scrap, and Johnny Brandon has caught the back of Ashley Beard, and the draft is coming into play at the worst possible time as they now find themselves with just 4.5 minutes left to go as they keep on pushing forward. Ashley Beard's got to think about this now. He's seen opportunity go away in a very similar circumstance to this with Robin Haasser and Cedric Nebelshek of Ren Sports Online. Now he's got to do it with Steve LaValle and Johnny Brandon of Team Team XV Racer, as they continue on their battles. So now what do you do here, Ash? Do you start thinking about making the move? You've not got many opportunities left, and we've seen on outright pace how LaValle is the quicker driver. It's the draft that keeps Ashley Beard in tow, and now he's got to start thinking about this. Okay, every car placement, car control, every area has to be perfect. From now to the end of the race, 3 perfect laps for Ashley Beard, for Steve LaValle, for Johnny Brandon, all of whom could still pick up a race victory, and it could still go in disaster and give Dan Brown and Ethan Bass a big opportunity. Look how close Ashley Beard is heading through the S's up towards Thunder Valley.
That is very close. This is going to be a thrilling end to this race. LaValle versus Beard versus Brandon. XV Racer ×2 versus Excite Energy at this point in time. So as they're all separated by just 0.8 of a second, anything could change here. They're heading through the carousel towards the end of another lap, and I expect we're probably going to get 2 more laps at the end of this one, depending on how much time they have when they cross the line. Actually, it may be more like 3 looking at that. So still plenty of time now for a move to make, but we are going towards the closing stage of the race, and I don't think the drivers will care how much time they've got left. They're going to be going for it. Beard to the right-hand side, the left-hand side rather, the outside line of LaValle. Almost leaving the door open. Needs to make sure he doesn't leave the door open to Brandon.
Oh.
He doesn't. He gets an excellent exit. They're still side by side.
Yeah.
And I think Beard has a proper opportunity here heading up towards turn 4, Jake.
Where do you go, Johnny Brandon? Does he dare make it 3 wide? Oh, he does! 3 wide for the lead here at China Beach. LaValle in trouble here in the middle, and there's contact between them. Ash Beard gets the slightest of taps, and Johnny Brandon picks the lead up as they go through with 3 minutes left and under. Just like that, Johnny Brandon with perfection as he goes through, and Ash Beard must have seen a ghost because he had that move scouted. He had the perfect run through that section, and it's gone at the worst possible place, Caitlin.
Well, when I was talking about their moves into there earlier, I used the word brave a lot, and I tell you what, if you want to see proper courage, proper bravery, proper grit, that was wonderful. A wonderful case study, a wonderful example from Johnny Brandon. Some would call it insane. I call it phenomenal. There you go.
It was phenomenal. It was fantastic. It was every supercalifragilisticexpialidocious style of move that you could possibly find. And crucially, there are 2 laps to go for Johnny Brandon to run away with this one and try and break away. Can Ash Beard hold on? Lavalley was one thing. I think Johnny Brandon might just be another at this stage. I've been keeping an eye on a 3-car scrap as well. Stevens, McNally and Sampson, they've all been having a big laugh and a lot of fun with each other as they've been going through, and it's been very entertaining to listen to team radio, which I know that you at home will not be able to do so, but it has been entertaining to listen to them have that scrap as Stevens lets McNally run wide and into the gravel. Game over for McNally. He cannot go any further than that. All of a sudden, Ash Beard is fighting for second and might be fighting for a podium here because Dan Brown has caught Caitlin.
That is amazing. Daniel Brown now right on the back of Lavalley as well. And I should point out that importantly, Daniel Brown is an ex-V racer, guys. He is on the same team as Lavalley and Brandon, but not as Beard. And Beard is going to feel very, very ganged up on at this point in time. Very much like a... I'm going to stop with the silly analogies because I keep messing them up. But anyway, Ashley Beard stuck in second position in an XV Racer sandwich, I should say, with the bottom button significantly thicker than the top. Brandon trying to get away, not quite getting away yet. We'll see what the gap is as they cross the line. It's less than half a second still, so Beard could very much still challenge for this this lead. Brandon not getting away just yet. Then it's Beard, Lavalley, Brown, and Foggy's up to 5th.
He is up to 5th. He's past Ethan Bass, who is now fighting with Baxter, and he loses out to Baxter even in 6th position. But this is the last lap of the race, and if Ashley Beard's got anything, and he's got to go now, but he's been struggling through the opening couple of corners, and suddenly it seems that Brandon to Beard is a bridge just too far to battle for as they continue on to China Beach for the final time. Steve Lavalley not in position at the prime overtaking opportunity here at turn 4, 5 and 6. And again, has to play waiting game once more as they head through the lefts and rights. Johnny Brandon cannot afford mistake. He's had minimal of that throughout this race. He picked up the win in round 19 to say I'm here, to say I've got everything that I want. Small blinks from Ashley Beard heading through the S's. Won't do any favours to Lavalley, who's waiting behind for mistakes at the carousel. For everyone else, though, it seems they've done good enough. Ethan Bass loses 2 more positions, one to Malcolm, one to Jackalette, though, as they get towards the end. I think he's struggling towards the end of this one. But for Johnny Brandon, he will pick up 2 on the day as he runs through the carousel, has just the final corner to go. And Johnny Brandon, with a worldie of a move, picks up the win at Mid-Ohio. 2nd for Ashley Beard, 3rd for Steve Lavalley, with Dan Brown picking up 4th. Nicole Foggy gets a top 5 come the end of it. And Ethan Bass is out of fuel coming to the line. A freebie for Martin Sampson. McNally, Stevens, Warmingham will all try and pick this up late. It's downhill all the way for Bass, and he will be swarmed at the line of least resistance. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more vehicles that go by. Kip Stevens, I think, was just out over the line as well. Bass falls from 5th to 15th.
Goodness me, what a finish there. The top 3 separated by just under a second. You can't really get races much closer than that all the way through. Absolutely fantastic. And I must say, the greatest thing about that lead fight was that it was clean. There may have been a bit of contact at times, but no one went shooting off into the Armco or into the gravel or anything. It was so good. Johnny Brandon, well-deserved victory. That move was the move of the race. And I tell you what, Johnny Brandon, probably my driver of the day, although very closely contested with Beard, Foggy, and some of those other drivers. Great podium as well for Steve Lavalley, new to the series. Great job from him. He's certainly making his mark already. Just wonderful from those guys. Fantastic.
Some brilliant racing, and of course, a very good driver of the day candidate when you have 2 race victories of 3 rounds here at Mid-Ohio. But classified results as follows. Johnny Brandon picks up the win in 31 minutes and 25 seconds. He started 17th. He worked his way all the way up to victory as he beats out Ashley Beard and Steve LaValle to 2nd and 3rd with a move on the penultimate lap. Dan Brown picks up 4th place with Nico Foggy. A great top 5 finish for him. He'll be very happy with that, seeing as he was so far back off of the pack. Steve Baxter will pick up 6th place, making it 5 XV Racer cars inside of the top 6, which is frightening in terms of team strength, how good that is. Carl Jacquelet, a wonderful 7th place finish for him on a breakout night by his standards. Scott Malcolm gets 8th place after starting in 3rd. He will surely gain masses of points in the amateur category standings. Martin Sampson will pick up 9th. Adam McNally, despite running off wide, still manages to come away with a top 10 finish.
P11 in the end was Rich Warmingham, followed by Julian Janowski, John Roberts, then Ethan Bass dropped to 14th, and I expect he probably had something like, I wonder if he was running low on fuel towards the end and suddenly had to start fuel conserving desperately, but whatever the case, just suddenly started to drop back through the order. Daniel James was P15, followed by Carl Hardy, Peter Van Gogh, Charles Kellyman, Michael Bingham, and Andy Maxwell, P20.
And I've just kept an eye on Kip Stevens because he did come across the line, but I wonder if he got a slow down penalty or something like that, because he found himself, actually no, he got disqualified after the checkered flag for going across the track at 2 and then to 3. So for Kip Stevens, I believe he's just been dropped down to 23rd, but it is Steve Cooley 21st, Lee Diemer 22nd, so Kip will be very egregiously hard done by the iRacing system. Will only get 23rd for that. Jim Flanagan 24th as a retirement, as was Chris Daines in the early stages, as was Dean Timms in the early stages. But some brilliant racing up and down this field. We've had some amazing battles, which you cannot fault, you cannot argue with at this point in time. But Caitlin, final thoughts as we take a break here away and we finish up proceedings at Mid-Ohio with Monza in a week's time.
I think I had a brain aneurysm.
Well, that's all that you need to know about what Caitlin thought about everything that happened there. But a massive thanks to those who get it done for us. Firstly, to Forcex Designs, who have been absolutely instrumental in terms of their help with us as our graphic sponsor, as well as also Violet. You can catch her stuff, the music that she's done on Bandcamp and on Spotify, the music that's probably playing in your ears right about now. From Marco Barbanera on the cameras, provided by Dougie Beard. From Caitlin Penny here on my left-hand side, I have been Jake Sperry. And Johnny Brandon cements himself as a driver who knows what he is capable of, as a driver who always has a plan in every race. And he came to Mid-Ohio with the best plan of the lot. 2 race victories, a cemented position now in the shootout, and picking up massive showdown points to chase down his teammate Nico Foggy. But of course, Monza, a completely different format, a completely different structure, a completely different beast. When you head, of course, to the Temple of Speed, everything seems to be just that little bit more sacred. We'll see you in a week's time in Italy.